just had a great session with the deans and directors from 3 world-class business schools from 3 continents. Took us from Southeast Asia to Africa to Western Europe. And the extension of that, with everything that we were discussing, is to now meet the alumni of those schools. And it's a great pleasure to welcome Justine Chua. Justine just graduated this spring from the Rotterdam School of Management at Erasmus University. It's great to have you with us, Justine. Gloria Hay was from the class of 2022 at the Asia School of Business. And of course, we'll be talking about the relationship the school has with MIT Sloan and how you made the most of that. And then Simba Mswaka. Simba is from the class of 2019 from the University of Cape Town and their Graduate School of Business. So thank you to all 3 of you. Justine, it's still very fresh, the MBA at Rotterdam, but perhaps you can just share a little bit of your backstory, you know, what you've been studying and of course your early career before you went to RSM.
Yes, happy to share. So I'm Justine. I'm from the Philippines. Before I started my MBA, I did 4 years with Unilever based in the Philippines, 2 of which I did in IT project management and 2 of which I did in trade marketing on the commercial side. And then in early 2022, I joined RSM to take on the MBA. I finished it in December, graduated in March. But before I finished that, I accepted an offer with Cargill here in the Netherlands as a marketing analyst role for their Protein Asia Europe business. So I oversee the total Europe and Asia business from the Netherlands headquarters here.
Congratulations. Perhaps just a quick follow-up question. We often say, you know, that the MBA, it's like drinking water from a fire hydrant. Did it feel, Justine, that it went by so quickly, the year that you spent at RSM?
Extremely so. I distinctly remember feeling at the end of the summer like we had just landed, it had just been winter, and then now like seasons had passed and we were already starting to job hunt. The year had ended, we had already learned so much and we still had more to go, but we had to add on job hunting with that. But it's really a year that you never forget and a year where you experience so much, like not just from the MBA itself, but from your interactions with your cohort and also from the reflections and growth you experienced during that time.
Great. We'll take a much deeper dive into the experience, skills that you've developed, the networks that you've built. Gloria, the Asia School of Business was featured by Poets and Quants as one of the, the 6 hottest MBA programs in the region. You got to taste it firsthand, but tell us what led to ASB. What were you doing, both perhaps in terms of your studies and then your early career?
Yeah, definitely happy to. Yeah. So I was part of the pandemic batch actually of my MBA. So originally I'm from Beijing, China. I went to the States for my university. I spent 7 years in the US before I moved to Canada for work. So before MBA and for my undergrad and the first master, I actually did art history and nonprofit studies. So I wanted to be a curator. That's actually exactly what I did in Canada as well. For a good 6 years, I was doing fundraising for art and culture institutions across Canada. But then I wanted to have a career change, and MBA just seemed to be the right choice at the time. So I think for people maybe who are familiar with MBA, a lot of the motivation of doing MBA is to do the triple switch. So location, job, and function. So that's actually what I accomplished through ASB. So right now I'm based in Singapore and I work in a blockchain company called SpaceX. I'm doing strategic initiatives, strategic projects. So it has been a quite exciting transition for me. Yeah, happy to deep dive and talk more details about the journey and my MBA studies. But yeah, that's me.
Well, we'll be talking about the transformational impact and to achieve a triple jump, as you say, you know, in geography and now in a very different sector and hopefully a great experience. It's also lovely to know the diversity in the classroom. There are engineers, there are consultants, there are bankers, and then there are those with a passion for art and museum curation and the voice that you then had in the classroom. So Simba, that brings us to you. And of course, you've had the last 4 years since you came out of school, but what had you been doing before the decision to go and get your MBA?
All right. Before my MBA, I was working in retail. I was in the retail space doing procurement. So I was doing that for about 4 years. And prior to that, I was an entrepreneur whilst I was studying. I was doing events management and so forth. And I did procurement for about 4 years, and I realized that there was somewhat of a ceiling. So similar to Gloria, I decided let me take the jump and what's the best way forward. And that's when you start doing the research. You ask people older than you visit poets and quants. It actually helped it was a big resource for a lot of MBA information, and the Financial Times, of course. You look at the rankings. And then from there, I decided, okay, I think MBA is the best route to change my job or function. And then from there, I did the MBA, and then I went into manufacturing briefly. And then I went into the world of startups, and I was running an incubator. And now I've landed in consulting. Yeah, so I've jumped for a few careers, and now consulting like brings it all together because we get so many different projects, and the MBA is a valuable resource because now you're used to, what is it, complexity.
Yeah, you remind me that the dean at another GSB, in this case Stanford GSB, when he talks to his Stanford MBA students, of course, there's a very entrepreneurial culture there too, and he says, maybe you don't all have to start a business after Stanford. If consulting would be a great way to consolidate everything that you've learned, and then who knows where things will take from here. Well, we're going to be hearing a lot more about that story. Maybe Justine, Unilever is a global multinational, a very culture. It has a very strong internal corporate culture, and you could have stayed and made a great career. So, what led you then to sort of step back and think, what else is out there? Maybe business school is in my future. Was there a key moment?
Yes. So because I had been working in IT project management, I had been working with a lot of international stakeholders, with those based in South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, Pakistan, but all based from the Philippines. And at that time, I felt very apart from the business. So I wanted to be with a team. I wanted to go and work more in the day-to-day operations. So I requested that move into a commercial role. And then I had moved into trade marketing. So it was really based in sales, with working with brands, supply chain, our finance partners, like really people in the business and locally based. But what I came to realize was that I did miss working with the international stakeholder part, but I also wanted to have this day-to-day operation side. And so it really became clear that taking an MBA, moving myself to another country, especially one that's very expat friendly, and taking a program that's 99% international, like RSM, would really help me achieve all of those goals. And the Netherlands was really a prime place for me to take this MBA because it's home for so many different industries, from CPG to logistics to agriculture. So it was really a no-brainer at that time that this was the right move to make if I wanted to take my career both to a global stage while also staying true to what I wanted and what my strengths were in terms of the work.
There are many ways, Justine, to discover the world. Do you think that that discovery through the framework of business school and the MBA is a particularly rich way to find out about not just the Dutch culture, but of course students coming from all over the world?
Yes, I really believe so, that through the MBA, through getting to work with your classmates from different cultures, from getting to understand their perspective and having that sort of change your own mindset and a problem solving approach, that is really what's so enriching about taking an MBA, especially outside of your home country, and something that I think greatly enhances both you as an employee or you as an entrepreneur in the future, whatever path you choose to take post MBA.
Gloria, I don't know if you remember in your final years of college studying in the US and maybe saying to the college counselor, I'm really passionate about art, the world of museums, curation, and you achieved that. And yet here you are now in a different country, working on blockchain and the future of fintech. So an incredible turnaround. Much like Justine, was there a moment where you said, what else is out there, and looking for change?
Yes. So quite similar to Justin's journey and story, I think I was looking for a change in my career and also looking for a way to improve because I was working on the fundraising side, which is the business side of the public institution. So I was definitely looking for a way to improve myself, strengthen my financial knowledge, and also to be more well-rounded to manage stakeholder relationships with, government agencies, with high net worth individuals, with private companies. So I think I need a way to improve myself all around. And from talking to, people around me who have done MBA, who have transformed their career through their MBA journey, that's how I decided that, okay, I want to pursue an MBA. Then it's the question where I want to do an MBA and how I can actually get the, some of the practical hands-on experience and also to be exposed to different, best practices in the different parts of the world and to have the global exposure. And that's how I think eventually what led me to ASB. Yeah.
Right. Simba was saying, Gloria, Poets and Quants was a good resource, rankings such as the Financial Times. As you then thought about the characteristics or the things that you really wanted from a program, including the presence of MIT Sloan, one of the M7 schools, how did you sort of say, ASB is the right place for me?
Yeah, there were a few key factors I considered. So of course, I think having the MIT involvement was like ASB was having the best of both worlds, right? It was in a rather emerging market where there's a lot of exciting opportunities in Asia, Southeast Asia per se, but it also has best practices or experiences from MIT with the resources, the faculty, and the reputation. So I thought that was a really good balance, first of all. And then the second one is the action learning program that ASB offers. Because I think I was quite clear that I wanted to have a career change. I wanted to transition to Singapore or to Southeast Asia afterwards. So the location of ASB is very strategic to me. On top of that, because I'm changing career and I come from a very different industry and academic background, I do need the hands-on experience or I need something more even outside of the classroom so that I can actually get my hands dirty and really exercise or implement some of the things I learn in class. So ASB has this action learning program where we get to work with companies of our choice across Southeast Asia. And that is throughout the semester. We work on a project, we work as consultants, we try to solve a key business problem identified by the company. And then we work with different levels of the company, we do presentations, we measure our impact, and then eventually we'll have the company also evaluate us based on our outcome. So that was a really great experience. I was the pandemic batch, so I didn't get to travel in person as much as some of my seniors, but still, I think virtually we still made it work. I work with, companies in Malaysia, in Vietnam, in Thailand as well, in very different industries from banking to mobile tech company to asset management in Vietnam. So that really, I think, kind of equipped me to transition into the professional full-time world after MBA, and also to get me to learn more about the region that I'm, getting myself into, I'm transitioning into.
No, I can see how that provides that sort of local connection and understanding. Simba, as we think about the ROI of the MBA, and very often that's a calculation of, okay, how much did it cost, the opportunity cost of not working for a year or a year and a half, and then, my salary today. When you think about ROI, now that you're 4 years out, and hopefully the rewards that have come with that, are there other aspects of the MBA that we somehow haven't calculated? It's not just about money, it's about self-confidence or networks. What are the sort of things that you consider?
I was actually about to speak about that. So at UCT, we had some courses that I had no idea were part of an MBA, such as leadership and OLV, organizational. I forgot the acronym, but leadership was one of them. And this was basically to teach you about yourself, a better understanding of self so that you can actually become a better leader in your company, your family, just in general, life in general. So we even had to write in a gratitude journal every day. That was part of coursework. We had to say what we were grateful for. We had sessions where we'd open up to our classmates. We do mindfulness. So dealing with the person within, that helped us change quite a lot and open up to each other. And I think that's one of the aspects of the MBA that is not spoken about as much, just your actual self. Personally, I could say when it came to presentations, I was terrible. And I knew that was something that I had to work on. So you actually then have to force yourself to do, well, you force yourself and you're forced by the course to be in front of the class. And then over time, you build up that confidence with your colleagues and your group members. And it's you can see yourself grow and you can also see it in others. We had people who would shake when they presented in week 1 or 2, like they're having a fit. Come towards the end, people are presenting, they're much more confident about what they're saying, etc. So that personal growth is not spoken about as much. And at UCT, we had a number of courses, especially leadership, that forced us to come out of our shelves and become more, I can't say dominant, but more to put ourselves forward in terms of your character and personality. Let that shine through as you build the company. And we also spoke about purpose and values and how important that is as you continue on this career journey. And I think that also then influenced some of the decisions we made in terms of where we want to work. It actually, you start thinking about it during the recruiting phase. Does this company align with my values? And that was something that we never considered before. But
Right.
after the MBA, it was like, okay, are they sustainable? I'm like, why am I saying that? I'm like, okay, do they meet my values? Because before it was money. I think the first or second week, everyone's like, I want to make more money. And then after that, it's like, no, I want a company that's sustainable, a company that actually aligns to my values. And people actually said no to some consulting firms because they were like, the work that they're doing and the industry, it's of no interest to me. It doesn't align with what I want to do going forward, so I'll pass.
Hmm.
So that's, I think, mission, values, and purpose, as well as your inner self. That's like such a underrated part of the whole MBA experience.
What a great summary. And also just to reflect to you, Simba, that if before the MBA you were nervous about public speaking and presentations, UCT put your name forward and here you are. This video is going to be watched by tens of thousands of people. And it's a great journey that you've made. In terms of that journey, Justine, and thinking about some of those interpersonal skills, the soft skills that Simba was reflecting on. But at RSM, from January through to December, this intensive 1-year program. So when you start out and you look at all of the different options, how do you think about managing your time, classes, but there are so many other things available to you. How do you make those choices of what to prioritize?
I think it comes down to what are your main goals in this coming year? Is it to really grow your network outside of the school, grow your network within your peers? Is it to really come out on top of the class rankings? I think once you have that, it becomes a lot clearer to you, like how you want to spend your time. Like for me, it was very clear I wanted to build a deep connection with my peers that I was taking the MBA with, but I also wanted to do some networking with the alumni that had already joined industries or companies that I was interested in. And so I did not uh, lack in my studies, but I would say that I would have put more effort in it if I had considered that as like one of my top 2 priorities for that year. But I would say that the time I had spent growing my network was greatly valuable in my post-grad opportunities, like in finding interviews, in finding potential new roles or opportunities, whether it be in the Netherlands or outside of it. Like that time spent doing that alumni and peer networking was critical. And that's how I really managed the workload, like making sure that it's done and it's not impeding the rest of the tasks I want to do.
Right. And of course, Rotterdam itself is this vibrant, design-driven, multicultural city that's, just hours from other European capitals. Is there time to also fit in, the fun stuff, the clubs, and then a little bit of travel?
Definitely, there is all of that and more. So one of the best parts of coming to RSM is that it's right in the city. We're connected to Amsterdam. We're connected to all the major cities by train. You can get on a Eurostar to London or a Thalys to Paris, and you'll be there in like 3-4 hours. So there's really a lot of time as well, like on the weekends or after school, to go and see the rest of the country and see the rest of Europe while you're here. And I think that was also a really big factor on why I chose RSM. Rotterdam is a vibrant city, but its cost of living is also not as high per se as living in Amsterdam or in other major cities.
Right. I think following the posts of the CEO at the Asia School of Business, Kirsten, is always talk about street food, and I would go to KL just for the street food, Laurie. It looks amazing. But as you sort of unpack the experience, you've talked about sort of action-based learning. Tell us a little bit about the structure, because a lot of those MIT Sloan professors are coming over from Cambridge, Massachusetts. You get to spend the last 3 weeks of the program at Sloan. So how is the program then structured to, again, be able to fit in so many different dimensions and different areas of stimulus?
Yes, so I think the structure of the full-time MBA program has evolved a little bit since I graduated. I think the program got shortened a little bit. So for my cohorts and the cohorts before me, it was a 20-month program. So we will spend 3 weeks in Sloan, Boston. Normally that's towards like the middle of the entire MBA journey. So for me, each semester, we'll spend 2 weeks with our action learning company, at least. So that's full-time 2 weeks with action learning company. And then we'll take some time within our group, our own, to actually really try to get into the nitty-gritty and try to solve the problem, and then we report back to the company. So that is kind of like the extracurricular outside of the regular coursework and the regular classroom activities. And then there is a 3 to 4 month internship program as well after the first 2 semesters. So that, I guess, is quite consistent with most other MBA programs as well. So yeah, that's kind of like the high level structure.
Right. And I guess the GSB, Simba, within the University of Cape Town, does that also give options a bit like Sloan and MIT? You've got the business school within this wider structure where, computer science and, agri-tech and so many things going on. Can you connect with those different parts of the school, or is there already so much going on within the business school that you don't have the time?
I mean, it's 50-50. It's generally up to the student themselves to initiate that, So because the school has the core curriculum that they already have and certain subjects, but yeah, over time they were getting into different types of fascinating subjects. But for GSB in particular, there was a big push for social entrepreneurship. So that was one of our core courses, and we had some electives on social finance. They would take us out to a place called Philippi, which is just outside Cape Town. It's like a township. What would I call it? What's the equivalent? It's an impoverished area, and they had a camp. The GSB has a campus there, so this place is full of violence. It's just a place it's not the nicest place, but it's important for the students to go there and see how the other side of Cape Town lives. gives you perspective, and times you go and help them. We did one project where we were dealing with school children that couldn't read up to the age of about 7, I think 6 or 7 or 8, they couldn't read. And what we found was it's not just that the kids can't read, it's that their parents actually can't read, so they can't teach them. So
Right.
we tried to come up with solutions for this. So that was the push more at the GSB, that more social entrepreneurship type of learning. And then as the student, you decide as well what you're more interested in, agri-tech. Well, this is 2018, so I have to think. Bitcoin was actually just started. I think that's the first time it hit 20,000 in 2018. Yeah. So it was between a fad and is this going to be the next big thing? What else? Yeah, so it's very student driven because we're also a very small university. Our class was 45 students, so we're pretty small. That was the full-time class. The part-time class was about 80, but we'd only see them when they come during block. So the
Sure.
students would drive it, and they would then push it forward. I know I was part of the entrepreneurship club, and what we do is if there's a company that we thought was interesting, we would then reach out to them with the blessing of the GSB, and then go visit them and see how they run their enterprise. A cool one was we went to a brewery in Cape Town, and we went and chatted with the entrepreneur, and we got to taste a number of beers that are not in the shelves, and maybe they never will be in the shelves, but it was pretty cool to see how the whole operation runs. So we do
Yeah.
stuff like that, and that was our own initiative with the blessing of the school.
Yeah, even the fun stuff and visiting a brewery is within that context of business models and entrepreneurial ventures. When we think about the transformational impact, Justine, here you are, just a year and a half, 2 years ago, you're in Southeast Asia, and now you're building a new life in Western Europe. How does RSM work with you in terms of career coaching, mentoring, to then be ready to successfully interview with your current company and make that switch?
So RSM is very supportive in providing career services with career coaches that are both well connected with the local industry and who have previously been coaching already batches of students to better understand what are the main differences between say our home country's job markets versus here. They're very great at explaining to us how the recruiting process goes here, what are recruiters looking for when they're interviewing. Like, for example, letting us know that part of interviewing here is seeing fit check, like really understanding how does your personality work with the team. Are you someone that they can get along with after work hours as well, or are you just someone who's bringing in technical expertise? So learning about small cultural insights like that affect the job hunting process is really one of the great things that the RSM's career services offers to us as students here.
And presumably also, Justine, the soft skills of interviewing, networking, that become just as important as the business modeling and cash flow projections that you're learning in some of the other classes.
Yes, definitely. We are taught like master classes on how do we start networking, and we're given sort of like exercises to do so, like saying that you need to reach out to at least 5 people within the next 5 weeks. It's fine if they don't accept your request, if they say that they're too busy, but really to start working that muscle and putting ourselves out there. And it really helps encourage those of us who come from Asian countries that aren't nearly as forward as, say, our Western counterparts, and who are more comfortable with the Western style of networking. Like having it set this way as a sort of exercise for us to get used to and to start utilizing, giving us a template to begin with that we need to customize to our own needs. All of these tools and benefits that RSM gives really helps us in preparing for postgrad opportunities here in the Netherlands.
Right. Now, Gloria, as Simba was reflecting on Bitcoin back in 2018 and what its future might be. I'd love to have seen your application to the Asia School of Business to say, oh, after the MBA, did you talk about blockchain, or is that something that you then discovered and explored, and here you are now with StraightSex?
So blockchain was more like a beautiful accident, but I did talk about going into transitioning into fintech in Singapore in my application. So I guess for the most part, I stayed on track, I stayed still consistent with what I initially mentioned.
As you then put that idea out there, how does the school help you in terms of industry connections? These are the things that you need to be thinking of to be on top of the industry trends, to really make sure that when you walked into that interview, you were ready.
Yeah, definitely. I think what ASB really does well is that they're very student-centric. So they try to work with each individual students to understand what really motivates the students and what the end goal for the students really is after the MBA. And then they try to come up with, individual game plan for each student and make really target and customized connections. So for me, because I wanted to transition into Singapore, into the fintech tech industry, so that actually the career services were able to make, really targeted connections for me with the right people, and it helped me have conversations with the right people in the room as well. And then I think another thing in terms of resources and practice opportunities, of course, ASB also provides that. And what ASB also does is that they really see the benefits of case practice, not only for students who are pursuing, consulting, but also to help students improve their critical thinking abilities and also improve their overall interview practices, because case interviews are being transferred into a lot of the tech industries and different companies as well. So I think having that kind of practice in preparation early on, we started talking about that actually almost right after we started the program. So having a long, consistent effort into that also pays off in the end. And of course, having the exposure to MIT, talking to MIT students, seeing how, students from, one of the top MBA programs in the world, how they actually handle their journey, how they prepare for interviews, also really helpful.
Right. Now, getting that industry expertise, Simba, we were talking with the dean of the school, the very active role that perhaps alumni like yourself, can then share for the current class. Again, as you think about the power of that network, what does it mean to then belong to a very well-connected, probably very influential, often a very successful group of individuals? How do you stay connected, and the benefits of UCT extend now 3, 4, 5 years after the MBA itself?
I think it's the whole idea that you have almost like a friend anywhere in the world. So I'll give when I started, I think the first month or so, it was pretty hectic in terms of just the workload, and you get a bit anxious and you wonder, okay, am I making the right decision? Then I the head of the alumni, the UCT alumni, had come to speak to us. And I said, let me drop this guy an email, and yeah, he probably won't respond. And within 24 hours, he responded. He's like, listen, I understand what you're going through. I've been there, etc. If you need to chat, here's my number. And yeah, we can connect. And I was like, oh, okay. So you never feel like you're alone in this journey. Same with one of my classmates. Her father was an MBA student in probably 1980s or so. And he was like, the MBA is so great. I've got my classmates who I did the MBA with. We're still friends, and he's giving us all these great insights and telling us about all the things you should do. And yeah, you then feel connected to the institution, to your fellow students, and you're never scared to send someone an email or reach out to the school and say, hey, connect me with this person. I need help with this and this. So it's such a powerful network, and everyone is willing to help. I think that's created even at the school. The staff is always ready to help. There's such kind people. They understand what you're going through, because everyone who does the MBA, we're all suffering in some small way because of we've decided to go on this crazy journey of success. So everyone gets it, and when you reach out and you tell them which class, and immediately people open up and they say, "Oh, okay, how did it go? What was your favorite subject? Is this lecturer still there? All right, you need help with such and such. Okay, no problem. Let's have a coffee." And it starts from there. And I remember the career service even connected us with alumni to mentor us to this is probably 3/4 of the way through our MBA. And then you get to sit down with people who finished and say, okay, so what did you do afterwards? How did this work out? And they ask you, what are you planning to do? And it helps shape everything as you get towards the end. I think was Gloria was saying, the MBA journey moves so fast, it's so rapid. I was at UCT is 1 year, but you start in January, and before you know it, you're now in September, November, and you have to do your research, and it's almost time to find a job. So it moves at lightning speed, and there's so much to take in. So I think you only start really unpacking how big a year it was in when it's all over and done with you. You actually take it in and said, "Oh, I did that, I did that, I did that." Yeah, but you always be connected, and well, fortunately we have LinkedIn, so you can always reach out to people.
Well, I'm sure, Justine, that there were highs and lows, not too much of the suffering that Simba was describing, certainly heavy workloads. Is the one thing now, as you reflect on your experience of 2022 and 2023 at RSM, looking back, one thing that was either a surprise to you or was so distinct in terms of learning something about yourself or the experience? What would you describe?
I think the most surprising part of it is that even though there's so many things happening, you're going through so much, you're having all of this new experiences, there's still so much time to reflect and to realize how much you've changed. Because the MBA year is really one of the first times, and maybe one of the few times in our lives, where we really get to take a pause and to see what's happened with us so far and where do we want to go next. And we're getting all this new input, we're deciding on new paths, and every day we're changing as people. I would say the growth we experience in that 1 year during our MBA is maybe equivalent to like 5 years of working nonstop at the same company. And it's really amazing seeing how your peers change from the start of the program, of seeing this is their goals, this is what they came here to do, to seeing how what they end up doing post program and what they want to do with the next 5, 10 years of their careers as well. And seeing that for yourself, like this transformation is something you always hear about from alumni when you ask them like about the MBA year. They always say that I never expected to be where I am today. But you as an applicant, you're like, I know exactly where I want to be. I want to be where you are. That's why I'm reaching out to you. But it's really that whole journey that comes with it of reaching this end goal. That maybe yes, you want to be just like this alumni that you spoke to, but you don't know how they got here and you don't know how you're going to get there as well. And I think that's really what's most shocking. And I think Gloria and Simba will also attest that they didn't expect this to be their endpoint today. But you also don't know what's our endpoint like 2, 3 years from now.
Yeah, constant sort of adaptability. It's interesting, RSM, of course, with their sort of mission statement of being a force for positive change, and certainly your reflection on the year that you've spent at the school. So Gloria, as you look back and many exciting things to look forward to, perhaps one aspect of ASB that it's almost like the hidden secret that you would love to share with people and say, you need to know this one thing, it's really quite incredible. What would that be?
It's like picking a favorite clothes because there are many wonderful things I think to share. I think should really I think that the program is probably not really a secret, or maybe it's an open secret. It's really the experience you get to learn with MIT Sloan faculty, both in Boston and also actually in a very different environment in Kuala Lumpur. And at the same time, really experience that kind of like emerging market energy in Southeast Asia and get to work with the local companies together with your peers from literally all over the world. I think ASB is really trying to be one of the most diverse MBA programs in the world. So I think it's that kind of like combination and that balance between, you know, the established and the upcoming. I think that it's really the hallmark of the ASB program and what makes it unique. Yeah.
Now, the Centre Court viewers are where you were 2 years, 3 years, 5 or 6 years ago, you know, enjoying the early stages of your career, thinking about next steps, possible change. So I'd like to just wrap up with a really thoughtful and insightful session, just with one final question. We'll start with Simba. In terms of a piece of advice to any of our viewers from all over the world who are perhaps thinking about business school or maybe pushed off those plans, but now seems to be the right time. Simba, what would be your one piece of advice to anyone thinking about the MBA?
One piece of advice. I think, but I think the first thing is, we do write those letters where we say what we intend to do afterwards. Give you an example. I intended to get into, since I was in retail, I wanted to get into retail, but at a ops director position. And then halfway through the MBA, I said, actually, no, I have more interest in tech and startups. And I went the direction of venture capital. And then 2 years post MBA, I was now running an incubator for startups. So it doesn't always turn out how you want it to, but I think the most important thing is have a plan as you get into the MBA, because you find that in your class you have people who are doing it for so many different reasons. We had people who were doing it to run away from work. They couldn't get leave, so they said, the best way for me to get leave is to study. So they did an MBA full time. Then you've got others who are trying to change location. So you're all there for such different reasons. So I think that would be the first thing, is just have a clear idea of what you want to get out of the MBA at the end, because you can decide where you want to take this thing. And I think it's that simple. We had someone who was determined to be a consultant. That was his be all and end all. Come the year after the MBA, he was a consultant. And it's others who are like, I want to chill on the beach and work somewhere where there's an ocean and work on my laptop. And that's what they're doing now. Someone decided they want to make games, computer games. That's what they're doing now. So it's so diverse that as long as you know exactly what you want to do, then you can work with yourself and the school, and you can get there. So I think that's just the key to have a clear direction.
Putting
very
words to
intentional.
the idea, maybe being so intentional.
Just be intentional with the whole process, because it comes
And
at you quick.
Justine, a final thought from you, because it's a big investment in money and in time. So what would your piece of advice be?
I think my number one piece of advice is that you should always ask. You should always ask alumni your questions, ask for that opportunity, raise your hand, really go out there. Because the worst that can happen is that you get rejected and you stay in the same place that you're in. And you've already made this investment with your time, with your effort. You've already reached this point. And if you were just going to sit and wait for opportunities, you didn't have to come take this MBA. You didn't have to move yourself to a new environment, a new country, and undergo all of this. So clearly, you wanted to make a change in your life. And sometimes we can't make that change happen on our own. We need to ask. We need to really just reach out and say what we want and see what happens from it all. I think that's my number one piece of advice for anyone
It's
looking to take an
very
MBA.
clear and very powerful. Gloria, perhaps a final word from you, that one piece of advice with the journey that you've had.
Yeah, I think something actually I wish myself could have done better throughout the MBA program was actually discipline. So this is actually building on what Simba was saying, is that you try to stay focused with your objective. There's a lot of distractions along the way, but I think looking at all my alumni and other MBA graduates, I think the sooner you can figure out what you want to do, the better, the sooner you have that clarity. But also at the same time, having that clarity, having that goal, it doesn't automatically get you there. Even I think if you want to work on a beach, be a digital nomad, that still takes effort, that still takes discipline. So try to, I think, put some discipline in that, I really need to have this conversation with this alumni on this day. I really need to get this thing done. I really need to do, 5 cases a week or 2 weeks. Try to have some sort of discipline. And then I think over time, it will pay off. Yeah.
Well, we asked you if you could join us at Centre Court. You said yes. And we're really, really happy that you said yes, because there's nothing more powerful than learning about the schools, the program, the experience, your personal growth, your intentionality, but hearing it from students and alumni. So Simba, Gloria, Justine, thank you for spending the last 45 minutes with us at Centre Court. Good luck with all of your next ventures, wherever they take you. We look forward to following those stories, but it was great to have you with us. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.